You've just described some of our rights in the carbon market, but who do we need to work with to ensure our rights are respected? We've already talked about who the sellers and buyers are, but there are more people involved that certify the credits. Let's take a closer look at who is who. You remember that person who arrived in our community hoping to make a deal with us? That person was most likely the project developer. They are the ones who identify a forest area to potentially have a carbon project. They calculate how much carbon is stored and absorbed in the forest and what threats of deforestation exist there. For REDD+ projects, anyone can be a project developer. These small-scale projects encompass protected areas like national parks, collectively managed territories like ours, or privately owned lands. Even communities can develop their own projects, especially if they own the rights to the carbon in their lands. But for most projects of this size, the developer is often a private company. Then there are jurisdictional REDD+ programs, also known as JREDD+. These focus on large areas called jurisdictions. Since these programs could include a state, province, or an entire country, the project developer is the government. So these project developers are the ones who turn the carbon in the forest into credits? Well, they get the process started and develop the projects meant to protect the forest. But all carbon projects or programs have to go through a certification process before they can sell credits on the market. The certification process is like a test with a list of requirements. Some of these requirements have to do with monitoring and calculating how much credit is in the forest. Others, called environmental safeguards, prevent harm to natural ecosystems, like cutting down native forests to grow just one kind of tree. Then there are social safeguards. This is a list of rules that are meant to protect people who depend on those forests, to make sure we're not harmed in the process. These rules generally include access to information about the project, including the potential risks and impacts that may arise, the right to be consulted, to participate in decisions around projects, programs, or policies that can impact our people and territories, the right to have our lands and territories respected and not to be forcibly removed from our lands or have our access to resources restricted, the right to free, prior informed consent, the right to share in its benefits produced by these deals, and the right to have a means to resolve problems if they arise. These protections are based on international agreements under the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change and are called the Cancun Safeguards. If a carbon project or program does not meet all these requirements, it means that it does not pass the test and the credits cannot be certified. This list of requirements is called a standard. There are many organizations or standard bodies that each develop their own set of rules to document results. Two common standards to certify credits at the project level are the Verified Carbon Standard VCS developed by Verra and Plan Vivo Carbon Standard. Jurisdictional REDD+ programs have their own set of standards, one of which is called the REDD+ Environmental Excellence Standard, also known as TREES, developed by Standard Body Art. So these standards are the rules that the project developers have to follow? Exactly, but it's important that someone checks to make sure they are being followed. Most standards rely on an independent review to ensure project developers are meeting the requirements. That's when a validation and verification body, or VVB, comes into the picture. They are hired by the project developer to conduct this review. The standard body will then examine the VVB's evaluation, and if it appears that the project developer followed the rules, they will issue the certified carbon credits for that project. That's a lot of people. almost too many. You're right. Things can get really complicated really quickly. In the next video, we'll look at what risk may be involved in working with these people and what we can do to make sure our territories and our rights are protected.